every weekday. This is the Happy Hour.
You guys going to happy hour?
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America.
Yeah, I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
Brought to you by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into the happy hour here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. I am Rico, joined by one Nathan Brennan.
What up, what up?
Nicholas Sainert is out today. He had himself a really long night and has another productive day in store today. He was on the call last night for the West Side Gretna game, which was a thriller, and saw a scholarship offer go out to a player. Following the game.
Well, did you see that the tweet he sent, it said re-offer?
Do you know what
that means?
West Side's kicker, and I can't think of his name right now, and I feel like an idiot. He went 5 for 5 last night, including a 50-yarder and a 43-yarder.
Which was good from 65.
Oh, yeah, the 50 was great. And including a 43-yarder, I believe, to win the game for West Side to win the state championship. He says he was re-offered because he was offered a preferred walk-on spot, a preferred walk-on scholarship, whatever it is. Earlier this year, but now they re-offered him and are offering him a full scholarship.
Good for him.
So 5 for 5, including a 50-yarder that would have been good from even further away.
Yeah,
so he gets
that
himself a scholarship
smashed.
offer from Mickey Joseph in the squad. But Nick Sainert was on the call, had a fantastic call on that one, and he's doing 2 more games today.
Yeah,
Class B and Class C1 today. He apparently had a very long night. I guess Jake Sorensen came in this morning for his show at 6 a.m. and Nick was here.
That's always weird.
And I don't know if he slept, but he came in and was doing some homework and cut some clips up and did a whole bunch of stuff. So Nick had a busy night. And he came in. He left after Jake came in, and then he came back and he boarded off to the show for the drive with AD and Raph. And then he left. He went to the press conference, and he's just staying out there because he's got another game to call, the Class B game,
which I'm pretty sure is at 2:30. So that'll eat into on the block and some of old school.
Yeah,
old school pick up probably around 4:45, 5 o'clock,
something like that.
How long do these games usually last? 2 hours, 2.5?
I don't know. They have the halftime thing. Sometimes they do presentations of some stuff, some scholarships, maybe the sportsmanship trophy.
So do they do them all at Memorial Stadium?
Yes, except for 6-man. The 6-man championship is out in Kearney at UNK. Shout out to my alma mater.
So even if it's a school in Western Nebraska, they're traveling all the way to Memorial Stadium.
Yes. Scottsbluff did that when they were playing the Class B championship. I don't know who's in the Class B championship.
See, we're
gonna have Nick call in. We might have Nick for the second segment, ask him about his call and ask him about the games for today. So
I also think it's interesting that they do it on a Monday and a Tuesday. Virginia, we do it Black Friday, Saturday. So it's right after Thanksgiving. And we split it up between quite a few fields. So it's played at, I know UVA is one of them.
How many?
Liberty is one of them. 6.
6?
So we have 6.
So the ones that play here, A, B, C1, C2. I think that's it.
So you got, and that's a little bit different too. We just do 1A to 6A. 6A is the highest, 1A is the lowest.
No, because then they do 8-man championships here as well. I think there's 2 classes of 8-man. So there's that. And
I think we have
championships are out.
We have 8-man, but we don't have 6-man.
Okay.
We have 8.
You ever seen 6-man football?
I've never seen it.
It is electric.
I've never seen it. What would be the closest place to here that would have 6-man?
I couldn't tell you.
It'd probably be a decent ways away.
Maybe.
Because for the most part, I mean, they're Class B schools around here, a few Class A.
A, B, there's some C schools. It's the private schools. I think Parkview Christian is 8-man, I believe.
We did it a little bit different. Because it's between a few schools. And I don't know if maybe it's regionally. I don't know how they decide, but I know that they've done it between a few schools. Also in Virginia, though, there's quite a few schools that you can pick from. If you're not going to play in Nebraska, where you can play? UNK, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, Wesleyan has a football complex.
They have a football field. Yeah,
It's not the biggest, but
yeah.
there's also that. I mean,
You play at Memorial.
You could play it at Seacrest. Seacrest is pretty big.
Seacrest is pretty big. But a lot of kids already play there. You don't want them to play their state championship there. That ain't right.
No,
you gotta make.
during COVID,
you gotta make an experience.
During COVID, they played them at higher seated sites, and apparently it was really nice.
Really?
Yeah. Well, they didn't want people traveling to Memorial Stadium
Right.
and all that, so they just played them at whoever was the highest seed. And they
Interesting.
Played them there.
All right. I guess it can work.
Apparently, it was really cool. So I'm getting some texts in right now on the text line. You guys can join in the conversation. 402-464-5685. Honda of Lincoln Hotline, Starter Heyman text line, and also on the Starter Heyman Jewelers live video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and all that jazz on all of those platforms. Especially on YouTube. We want you guys to follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like the videos so that they pop up on more people's feeds and they watch us, and everybody has a grand time listening to exactly what I say. So I've got some people texting in right now. D1 and D2 also played Memorial. So yeah, I was right. I know that. Sterling has 6-man. That's 40 miles south.
So that's not too far. I really do need to go to a 6-man game because I've never seen it before. What is it? 3 down linemen?
I believe so.
So 3 down linemen.
I've watched it like
quarterback
twice. It was when I was in college. It's been a while.
And then maybe a running back and a receiver,
something like that. It's electric though. I know that.
How many? Well, all right. Let me ask the text line this then. How many kids go to that school if you're playing 6-man
I couldn't
football?
tell you that.
That's the thing. It's just been tougher for me to grasp. Is the one thing is just the sizes of some of the schools in Nebraska, because I mean we had saw small schools in Virginia, of course, but my graduation class in high school was 650 kids.
See, I graduated with 400 and hold on.
Well, you're from
486.
Well, that's Bellevue West.
Yeah,
is that Class A?
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go.
But I know
bingo.
Some central classes are like Omaha Central, Omaha South. Some of those there are bigger Class A schools. They have a lot of people graduating at one time. So, it's just a thing. There's
all over the place.
I don't know I'd have to look up the exact number for what class each is, but there is. And I've heard it from my wife and some other people who went to smaller schools, some discrepancies between schools in the smaller classes where they will turn kids away from attending their school so that they can drop down a class or so they can stay in a certain class because they're so dominant that they continue to win.
Really?
Yeah.
Because don't those 6-man games end like 80 to 85 or something like that?
It's crazy.
I'm going to have to go see that.
Yeah, somebody says Parkview Christian, which is here in Lincoln, won the 6-man championship. And I saw some complaints about that because they're like, "Oh, it's the city of Lincoln." Like,
wait, what? How does that work out?
It's a private school, so they only have a certain amount of people who go there. So they play 6-man
so it's a little
football.
bit more selective.
Yeah.
All right. The more I'm learning about Nebraska, I appreciate you guys.
See, this is what,
this is what the text line's for, is to educate me on the history of Nebraska, high school football in Nebraska.
I loved it. High school football is so much fun. And the game last night, I didn't get to watch all of it, but I watched some. I know I turned it on sometime in the second quarter, and Gretna was down 30 whatever to 20 whatever. They were down a decent amount, and I was confused. I was like, wait, this should be closer than it is. And then, of course, I fell asleep, and when I woke up, obviously the game was over, and I see the score, and I'm like, dang it, I missed
the highlights were electric. It was awesome.
I hated myself. I missed a great game.
I want you to tell me, because this is the one thing that I don't understand too, because I was a little bit late to the party on this. I know Zane Flores, obviously filthy. He's going to Oklahoma State.
Yes.
What is it? So who is to blame for Nebraska not offering him? Because I've heard some Verduzco and I've heard some Frost.
Both.
But even if it's okay, but even in that circumstance, I don't understand. So you're telling me that at no point in time Nebraska offered him?
No.
That is
the story that I have heard.
Mind-blowing to me.
It is very crazy.
That is mind-blowing to me.
So I believe he's been the starter for Gretna for 2-3 years. And I mean, if you go back, I'm trying to think of like the quarterbacks that they've had in each class. And I don't know at what point why they thought that Zane Flores wouldn't be a good quarterback to offer. But I mean, in this class,
especially all the quarterbacks you keep on a roster. How many quarterbacks are under scholarship on Nebraska's roster right now? 7? 8?
No, hold on.
You're telling me you can't be one of those? Are you kidding me?
Casey, Logan, Chuba, Harburg,
Torres,
Master's not on scholarship. I think it's only 5.
What about the kid from Hastings?
He's not on scholarship. He's a walk-on.
All right, so 5.
So I think it's only 5. But in this class, I don't believe they had a quarterback under their on their like committed or I don't know who they were recruiting until Whipple got here and they got William Watson. I know that they were, sending out feelers and recruiting a bunch of quarterbacks, but they didn't have any committed until Whipple got here and William Watson committed. And that's for this class, which is the Zane Flores class.
Unbelievable.
I don't know who is to blame for not offering Zane Flores a scholarship, but I do know that is a miss in terms of how much coaching staffs have talked about keeping the talent in state and not wanting to let the most talented players in the state leave the state. Missing on Zane Flores is a huge miss.
That's one of the bigger misses too. And I know that obviously Joe Burrow is one of the names that comes up too. I just don't understand. Again,
he was from Ohio.
But the connection to Nebraska, he said he wanted to come to Nebraska, whatever have you. And everyone says hindsight's 2020. At the same time, though, even if this kid doesn't start, are you telling me that's not a kid you want in your locker room? A kid that's from the state of Nebraska, that understands the program, understands the tradition, understands the history of Nebraska. I don't understand how, even if he's not going to be the starter, or maybe he's a guy that you need to work on, a guy that needs to get in the weight room more, maybe a guy that needs to improve his passing. I have no idea what circumstance it would be. I just don't understand how at any point in time you're like, you know what, at least that's a guy to have in the locker room. At least that's a guy that you want that's a part of your program. Even if he's not going to play. I just don't get it. That is one, and Virginia does this all the time. Is Virginia Tech will find the kids that are the best kids in Virginia and they won't offer them. Or they'll find the 4 stars, the 3 stars, they won't offer them. And it just makes no sense to me. It's the one thing that I've never understood. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's very confusing because, as you said, even if he's not going to be a starter and you have somebody who's going to be in front of him for
get him in the locker room
at
least.
Years. Well, if you're going to have somebody in front of him who's going to be in front of him for a couple of years, maybe it's still competition in the locker room. It's competition on the practice field. And also, you never know when you're going to lose 1, 2, possibly even 3 quarterbacks during the season.
Right.
And you're going to have to play somebody, and having somebody as talented as Zane Flores is. And I'm not saying that he's automatically, day one, as a freshman starter, but no, he has all of the things that you're looking for in a quarterback: the intangibles, the arm strength, the knowledge, and everything he does at a very high level. And that's somebody who you would want to have as a backup, as a third string, in his second or third year, and then somebody who could take over your program when he's ready and be a solid quarterback. It's mind-blowing, it's confusing, it's frustrating. From everything that we know, and Nick mentioned it on his broadcast last night, Mickey Joseph and the staff went into Zane and talked to him and were trying to see if there was any way that they could possibly get him to consider Nebraska again, but his mind was set on Oklahoma State, and he's going to be a cowpoke next season.
Did you also see what's interesting about the kicker from last night? I can't remember his name too. Text line, help us out with that one. He also said that he had a great discussion with Mickey Joseph, which, again, I don't want to read too much into it because that's basically what every Husker fan does. And at this point, we're just spitballing and just throwing out names, and Mickey Joseph is still one of those names. So I just think it's interesting that in the tweet that talked about he's been reoffered scholarship at Nebraska, hopefully that means that he's going to commit and that happens soon. He still went out of his way to mention Mickey Joseph. And that's another one of those things that we talk about, Rico, and we talk about all the time, is that, yes, you have guys like Garrett Nelson that say they love Scott Frost, and they say the same thing about Mickey Joseph. But then you also have the same thing, like, I know Casey Thompson was the perfect example. Everyone was saying, okay, Casey Thompson said that he loves Scott Frost and all that. The way that they speak about a coach is different. When you are given a question, you can always say, okay, I respect the coach. I think he's done a good job. I wish him the best. For you to go in 2-3 minute intervals, rants about how great of a guy he is, how much he means to you, when you're tweeting about an offer and you're going out of your way to mention the interim head coach as a part of that conversation when you're offered a scholarship, that means something. And I think that's the one thing that we keep missing about Mickey Joseph. And I know some people have mentioned it too, but then other people say, okay, it's done. It's wins and losses. Well, I think it's a little bit more involved than that.
I hate that.
I think it's a little bit more involved than that.
I hate that because the thought process before Mickey Joseph took over was that this team was hopefully going to make a bowl game, but not going to win more than they were not going to win more than 7 games. They weren't going to win more than 6. They weren't going to win more than 5. That was the thought process from a lot of people coming in.
Right.
They have 2 wins when Mickey Joseph takes over. And all of a sudden, he has to get to a bowl game, and he has to win 7 games. And he has
well,
to
they
win
actually
this,
only had one win, and it was against North Dakota. They had one win.
You're right.
Mickey
They only had
Joseph
one.
took over.
You're right. They only
because
had
they
one
lost to Georgia Southern.
So
Do
they
not
had one
worry.
win, and it was well, now you have to make a bowl game. It's like, well, the easy part of your schedule is done. Now you're entering the meat of your schedule, and you want him to win 5 more games.
And I understand that's with what's happened at Nebraska. I get that everyone wants wins. They're tired of the close losses. I understand all that. I understand the frustration there. But when you look at the way that these kids talk about Mickey Joseph, when there are recruits that are tweeting about Mickey Joseph, when there are guys that literally commit to Nebraska, there was the running back from Louisiana the other day that said, I committed here because of a great conversation and in talking with Mickey Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
That goes a long way in deciding your head coach.
Said
because
he's excited to be coached by Mickey Joseph for the next 4 years.
That's the reality of college football. And I know that everyone wants to look at wins and losses and production and what happens on the field, and I get that. I understand that. I'm not poo-pooing that mentality.
Poo-poo it. Do it.
But the thing that I don't think that we're talking about enough is at a place like Nebraska, you can't just sell that you're Georgia, you're Alabama, you're Clemson. Like, that's not a selling point. Like, you having a guy like Mickey Joseph, and not now. Okay, it wasn't the 90s. Yeah. Not now. Having a guy like Mickey Joseph, that is a selling point. You have to have these selling points. Facilities is a great one. NIL is a great one. The best college fan base in the country, a great one. On like one of the prettiest campuses in the Midwest, a selling point. But unfortunately, these schools like Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, you know what else they're selling? Championships, going to the NFL, like tradition. And these things are things that Nebraska has had, and I think that Nebraska will have again. But you need all the help you can get right now. You need all the help you can get, and having a guy like Mickey Joseph in the room is crucially important. So before we say, let's just throw Mickey Joseph to the side, I think we really need to take a second. And if Trev doesn't know the guy, and he doesn't have a guy, then I think that fans need to seriously think Mickey Joseph could be that guy. Because this is the thing. I think that Trev probably has a pretty good idea. And now I'm just speculating. I have not been in those discussions. I have not been in the rooms. I'm just saying you would assume that by now Trev probably has a guy.
In your opinion.
I have an opinion that Trev probably has a guy. If he doesn't, what are you going to do?
Because this really coaching late in the process to not have somebody.
Bingo. This coaching carousel, we saw it this time last year, Rico. It is the Wild West.
Things are going to go crazy as soon as because it wasn't even, it was before or a little bit after the college football playoff had completed itself and things went wild. And I think this one with how many Power 5 jobs are open, because last year it wasn't a lot of open Power 5
it was just a lot of movement.
This one with all these open Power 5 jobs, I think you're going to see a lot more movement, a lot more coaches deciding after the season is over if they're not in conference championship games, if they're not, going to the playoff, if they just have a bowl game to go to, I think you're going to see a lot more coaches making that move.
I agree.
Because getting to be with your team, getting to be at that new school before the transfer portal opens up, before you can officially, before everybody enters the transfer portal and before early signing day, which is turned into regular signing day, happens, and you can convince those guys that you had going to your other school to join you at this new school, you're going to see a lot more movement as soon as this season ends.
Right. And that's the thing, too, is Brian Kelly is a perfect example. Notre Dame was not officially out of the playoff race, and he already said that he was leaving.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out.
Notre Dame could have been in the playoff with an interim head coach. Now, Marcus Freeman ended up getting the job, but at the time, he was the interim head coach.
It would have been really interesting.
I just think that it needs to happen sooner than later. And everyone says that I'm a pro Mickey guy. I'm not a pro anybody guy. At this point, I've reached the point I trust that Trev is going to make the best decision for Nebraska. And to be honest with you, it can't get much worse.
Look,
it can't get much worse.
I mean, I'll admit it. I'm pro Mickey. I think that Mickey would do a great job. But whoever gets the head coaching job, I'll support.
But that's the thing
That's how it is.
I support Mickey too. But I know that there's a lot of big names out there, and there are a lot of names that fans want, and that probably would be a home run, big time hire. And I'm okay with that too. I'm just saying it needs to happen sooner than later.
I can't agree more with you.
It has to.
I cannot agree more with you. But on that note, we are going to head to a break. We will welcome Nick Sainert in. He's joining us on the stream to talk about last night's game between Westside and Gretna and to give us a little bit of insight into the Class B and C1 games that he'll be calling tonight. You're listening to the Happy Hour on 93.7 The Ticket.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. Your Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There's a lot of realtors in Lincoln, but don't get overwhelmed by all the names. Ben Bleicher with professional Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate is your go-to option when buying or selling residential and commercial property. Ben's team offers unbeatable customer service and promises to make the buying and selling process as stress-free as possible. Call Ben today at 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate. No pressure, just professionalism.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 54 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 54 North 27th Street.
They might win, they might lose. But wait, you have something to say about it. Don't miss the Husker After Party postgame show immediately following every Nebraska football game. Nick Sainert and Jake Bachhoven give instant reaction, quotes from the players and coaches, and take all your phone calls with thoughts on the game. It's the Husker After Party postgame show, only on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Sponsored by Action Plumbing and Heating, Gary Michaels Quilliers, and Brant Excavating.
Tractor Supply is looking for full-time team members for their Waverly Distribution Center. Tractor Supply has a new progressive pay model where team members receive 5 wage increases in the first 2 years of employment with the ability to earn up to $24 per hour. Applicants can expect a 3- and 4-day work week schedule with additional overtime days with both day and night shift schedules available. At Tractor Supply, they work hard, have fun, and make money. Apply today at tractorsupply.jobs.
At Venue Catering and Events, we offer 2 of the most historic ballrooms in Lincoln. The Jasmine Room located in the historic Grand Manse in the heart of downtown, featuring a beautiful built-in antique bar, spacious patio, and soaring skylit ceilings. The Scottish Rite Ballroom, located just 2 blocks from the state's capital, boasts intricate hand-carved columns, rich, dark wood floors, and lavish chandeliers. The perfect venues to host your wedding, corporate event, or much more. For availability and more information, call us at 402-603-6483.
A good game with good friends. But isn't it time to up the score when it comes to the food? Wings and Rings is here for every football fan. Catch the game on one of their big screens or snag a tail great pack to go. They're cranking up the heat and throwing in mad flavor this season. Stop by your locally owned Wings and Rings on O Street in Meridian Park or 48th and Old Cheney in Williamsburg Village, or grab some crave-worthy Wings and Rings to go. Make them your go-to destination to watch your team bring home the win. Wings and Rings. Game time just got better.
Wow. Did you ever save me money on my car?
Yes, that's why our customers keep coming back.
How do you do it, friendly car dealer ?
We simply have low overhead and high trade-in values. The next line's yours.
Oh.
Ready for something better? Mullen Motors is a no-hassle, no-pressure dealership with financing available. Check out the inventory at MikeMullenMotors.com.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If
If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300. Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, call 988 for free, confidential, and compassionate support. On July 16th, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is transitioning to 988. There is hope. For 24/7 support, call, text, or chat 988.
Sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Get a lot of advice about self-care these days, but one of the most important self-care steps we can take is making sure we're financially secure later in life. For small steps you can take to save for retirement, visit WeSaySaveIt.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Happy Hour here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. I am Rico. That is Nathan. Nick is joining us from Memorial Stadium. Nicholas, you're going to have to unmute your mic, but how are you doing, good sir? Or are you on the tie line? No. You on the tie line? Hold on. He's on the tie line. Give me a second. Let me figure this out first. You on the tie line? Okay, hold on. Give me a second while I... Hold on.
Mastermind behind the board. Rico.
Okay. Go ahead. Say something. Can you guys hear me? We can barely hear you.
Yeah, you're kind of quiet.
Why can we barely hear you?
That's on my end. There we go. How's
that?
that?
Was
there
on your
you
end.
go.
All right, so I just got to turn on my mic.
Okay.
So,
I didn't know you were on the tie line. I thought you were going to be on the stream, so I took Nate's camera off, so he's on the other camera.
Well, that's why I texted you, Rico, verbatim.
I didn't look at that.
I am on the tie line.
Yeah, I don't look at your text messages.
So I could have gone on the other camera?
You know what? I'm just gonna add you back onto the other camera since we don't have to have it.
All right, how about that?
That's why I was like, hey, it's gonna be easy to join.
Hey, Nick, how about you don't and you tell us about that amazing game that you caught? Oh, look at that beautiful field.
Look at the view.
Gorgeous.
That's where we're at today.
Great office you got there, my guy.
Yep. This is where I'll be parked for the next probably 10 hours.
How about you tell us about that amazing game that you called last night? The kicker who got a scholarship offer, some Zane Flores talk. And also, I just want to say one thing before I let you go, and that colleges offer scholarships to people who aren't going to be starters all the time. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that text message or that text on the text line. Somebody saying you don't offer scholarships to people who aren't going to be starters. Absolutely terrible take. And you get offered scholarships all the time. It's not like you offer a scholarship to a quarterback 1 year and then you wait 4 years before you offer another quarterback.
You literally have no idea who is going to start at any point in time. Look at Stetson Bennett, my boy.
Here's what I'll say. I mean, because I heard you guys' Zane Flores conversation, and I agree with what you guys said. I would also argue this. I mean, when you look at the recent quarterbacks that Nebraska has decided to take, or on the flip side of it, not decided to take. You have Cole Payton, Easton, Zane Flores are the three main ones, the three big names you guys hear normally. And I would argue, I mean, if Nebraska had a good track record in the recent years with backup quarterbacks, I would say they are doing something okay, right? But now we've seen it for multiple seasons in a row on Saturdays for Husker football, where the drop-off from the starting quarterback position to any of the backups is big. I mean, there's just a massive drop-off there, unfortunately. So, I mean, something's got to I think it's okay to say this. Previous head coach didn't speak one single word to Zane Flores. However, I also would say this, one of Mickey's first things that he did on the job was call up Zane Flores and give credit to Zane for staying true on his commitment to Oklahoma State. I mean, he is the Pokes' highest rated commit according to their 24/7 sports site. He's their gem of the class. He is their guy. And give credit to Mike Gundy and that staff over there down in Stillwater, because they've been in on him since day one when Nebraska was not. And there's a very good chance that he is going to be running the offense for Oklahoma State here in a couple years.
He's probably spiteful. I mean, I don't blame the kid.
Well,
if it were me, I'd be the same way. I'd be like, you know what,
Well,
Nebraska,
I
you
would-
didn't offer me? Absolutely not. I'm going to come here.
I'm going to a school that
this.
plays Nebraska.
Yeah,
I
there
would
you
say
go.
this. I mean, how many times when we're having this conversation, guys, is it, well, this is a program issue. This is not just a single coaching regime problem. This is an entire program issue that Nebraska has been unable to develop players and consistently. So if you're Zane Flores in this situation, you look at recent years and you see that back before Scott Frost, you went out to the transfer portal, got your starting quarterback because you were unable to develop guys. Now you've done it with Chubba Purdy and Casey Thompson. Like there has been
And Logan
an
Smothers
inability.
wasn't really developed either.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you look at this track record, and if you're Zane Flores, who has a magnificent arm, guys. I told this to AD and Raf, and I think Rico was there this morning as well. The 54-yard pass that I saw and I witnessed in person last night, where Flores took a shot right at his left knee and threw it perfectly in stride to Blake Moore, that ended up setting up the go-ahead touchdown for Gretna in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, may have been the best throw that I've seen from a high school quarterback, considering the situation, considering the circumstance, and considering the pressure and the opponent. I mean, it is just a remarkable throw, and he's a great talent. But I mean, if you're him, you look at what Oklahoma State maybe has done with quarterbacks, and you have Spencer Sanders, who was a top 20 quarterback in the country when healthy. Now he's been banged up, so that's why Oklahoma State's struggling so much. But Mike Gundy's the dude. Like, Mike Gundy is a good coach, and Oklahoma State is a top 25 program pretty much every single year. So you see that, and if you're Zane Flores, you go, all right, do I go home or stay home, I should say, when at first they didn't really want me, or should I go to somewhere that's wanted me since day one and has a track record of not only winning but also developing quarterbacks?
Just having some solid quarterback play year in and year out. Oklahoma State does. So again, I don't blame Zane Flores in the slightest. If you're not getting talked to by the home state school, why would you
go
entertain any
Yeah.
home state school talk? But
Yeah.
somebody on the text line is Tiny Pig on the text line is asking, can the Huskers change Zane Flores' mind with some NIL money? No. That ship has sailed.
I don't think Zane Flores is that type of guy either. I've had 2 conversations with Zane Flores, and seems like a very down to earth kind of guy that just kind of loves the game. And Nebraska's gonna have to figure it out. We'll see what happens with William Pop Watson. I wonder, Rico, you and I had this conversation this morning. I wonder what happens if Mark Whipple ends up not being the offensive coordinator going forward. I wonder what happens with William Pop Watson. And you really wonder where Nebraska's quarterback room stands after this season, because Casey Thompson today in the press conference was interesting. And because he said something along the lines of, like, I'm excited about the future of this program. And I'm going to be sad on Friday when the season's over, because I'm going to want to come back and play some more ball. And when he said that, it almost sounded like he was planning to return. And it's a very weird feel around the press box and the press conference today. And just because you kind of know that this coaching search 70 some days in is coming to an end finally. And now you're going to have to really recruit the roster. Mickey Joseph said that today, that he's going to wait till after the season to start recruiting that roster. That's an after the season issue.
Well, this was Mickey Joseph on the conversations with Casey Thompson in his future. I want you to listen to the end of this statement that he has.
No, we hadn't. The only thing Casey and I talked about is this is him. He's going to graduate. He's going to get his master's in December, and I congratulate him on that. But it's not going to be my decision about these kids' future. They're going to make the decision with their family. Casey comes from a strong family, family that understands the business, so they'll make the best decision. But Casey wants to stay here at the University of Nebraska.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, he does. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I also saw this tweet earlier today from Mitch Sherman of The Athletic, where he was like, Nebraska's been fortunate over the last 5 years or so to have quarterbacks and signal callers that represent Nebraska extremely well and extremely professional. Adrian did so, and maybe not on the field, take the record part out of it, but Casey speaks very highly of Nebraska as a program, speaks very highly of Mickey Joseph. And like I said, it's a very weird feeling up here right now during the press conferences, because a lot of people are asking questions about, hey, what has Mickey Joseph learned? What has him being available done to help you and further your career, not only with Casey Thompson, but also Colton Feast and Caleb Tanner as well. And it just kind of feels really weird that because they are fully bought into Mickey Joseph. They are fully bought into Mickey Joseph with every single thing they say.
That's what Nathan was saying earlier.
And that just makes it.
It does,
guys. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm not sure if Mickey's the right guy for the job. I don't know. That's a completely different conversation, I suppose. But it's going to be very weird, and it's a very delicate situation. If Trev Alberts decides to go in a completely different direction and Mickey Joseph is not here, it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how the mood changes around the program.
Well, that's what's so interesting, too, is like you mentioned Mickey Joseph speaking on behalf of Casey Thompson, and I'm assuming that he probably spoke about it, a few other players as well. And I know he had talked about the senior ceremonies. There's going to be guys that walk that probably won't end up leaving, all that. But Mickey Joseph, I think, is the X factor in that, because when he talks about Casey Thompson wanting to stay at Nebraska, yes, that is the case. But Casey Thompson's also played an entire season under Mickey Joseph. If Mickey Joseph leaves, what does that conversation look like? It could look completely different. So if he wants to play at Nebraska as it currently stands, there are so many dominoes that are going to fall within the next week, 2 weeks, month, that very well could change. So I kind of take that with a grain of salt.
And what's crazy, Nate, is I see where you're coming from. I would also add, there's been a couple of people that I've talked to where it's like, you know what, maybe it'd be best for the university if they just completely scrap everything, because you don't want to be holding on. And I don't know where I stand on that. I truly don't know where my opinion is on that. I don't know if I agree with that either, but I keep going back and forth. Like, I see to a point where you want this foundational rebuild, but I believe that you still need pieces because you want to be able to be competitive starting next season, right? You might not expect a divisional championship next year in year one of whoever the head coach is, but you expect to be competitive because you're at a place like Nebraska, no matter what.
Well, also,
and then hold on, before we get into that, Byron texts in, new coach can bring in 30 to 40 guys.
You don't want that.
So you don't want that. First off, secondly, there is no program in the country that has brought in 30 to 40 new players if a coach happens to leave or a new coach happens to cut. That doesn't happen.
Well,
you don't bring in 30 to 40 new guys. If you bring in 15 guys, that's a lot.
I would also
you can't bring in 30 to 40 and expect that to gel and work in the first season.
I would also add, guys, NIL is not what everybody thinks it is. Okay. And let's be honest with ourselves. How attractive of a place is Nebraska right now? How attractive is a place?
We're talking about,
and I'm not.
You need every selling point.
I'm not in the portal. I don't know the answer to that question. But how attractive is Nebraska right now to a guy that might have options between Nebraska, Oklahoma, who is a 6-win team right now with Brent Venables, and I don't know, throw in another 7-5, 8-4 type of
Michigan
team.
State,
Kansas State.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Either one of those. So it's like how much more attractive is Nebraska? Yes, you have selling points like the sellout streak. You have selling points like the facilities. But also, here's another thing, guys, is a year after Nebraska's facility is done, it won't be the newest and the nicest. Why? Because there's always an arms race for the newest facilities in the country and the best facilities in the country. And somebody's already starting to fundraise for $190 million facility. Like there's always going to be somebody that's trying to beat you out in terms of off the field stuff. So one thing you can dictate is on the field. And unfortunately for Nebraska, that selling point has not been there. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know what to think. I just don't know if, when we bring in 15 to 20 to 25 guys through the transfer portal, number one, I don't know how well that sets you up for the future, sustainability wise. And second of all, I don't think it's going to be as attractive as maybe we would like to imagine, especially. And then, you have the cliche response from fans of NIL. Nebraska's not going to go through the transfer portal and offer $500,000 or, $150,000 to every single player. That's just not realistic. And it's just not going to work.
Well, also, I don't really like the idea of just scrapping everything, because how do we really look at these past 5 years? When Scott Frost came here, didn't we kind of envision that as scrapping it and starting from the beginning? And then you're going to tell the fan base you're going to do that again? I mean, we just had 5 years of starting over. And where did that get you? Without a bowl game, without a record over 500. And you're telling me that we're going to go through another 5 years of that? I mean, you have to have some type of foundation. I know the foundation isn't that strong right now, but it's something. I mean, we tried this starting from scratch, and that certainly didn't work out. And I just don't know if you can tell a fan base that's so loyal and has that dedication, and it is one of those selling points that is so that Nebraska takes pride in. You're gonna tell me you can do that again? I don't know if I necessarily disagree with or agree with that.
I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. On the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, Dion says, we are a blue blood like Alabama and deserve the kind of coach Alabama would hire.
Nebraska is a blue blood like Alabama, but in the current status of college football, Nebraska is nowhere close to Alabama. If you bring up just to a college football,
Nick Saban gets fired or retired, Alabama is the best job in all of college
just
football.
look at the fact that Wisconsin is listed higher as a destination than Nebraska should tell you everything that you need to know about where Nebraska currently sits in the field of college football. If you ask a regular college football watcher who's not a fan of Nebraska and is a fan of whatever school, just a fan of like a group of 5 school, if you ask them, out of all the blue bloods, is Nebraska up there with an Alabama and Ohio State and Michigan? They're not.
Let me ask you this, guys. This is all I'll ask you. If you're a head coach right now and you could choose between going to Alabama or Nebraska, which are you going to choose? It's just simple. Like
pretty easy.
It seems like a pretty easy decision to me. And unfortunately, we're at the time now. I think Rico, you bring up a good point. If you're a head coach right now, and say Wisconsin moves on from Jim Leonard and they don't choose him, you're in the coaching carousel right now, and you have to choose between Wisconsin or Nebraska. Which one do you choose?
See, I think that's interesting, actually. I think that's
it's a discussion
conversation between Wisconsin and Nebraska, because you have to think about the changing landscape in college football, and when divisions are scrapped, I think things change, and I think that plays a big part into why Wisconsin decided to fire Paul Chryst. I
probably agree with that.
Looking forward to the future.
I'd probably agree with that.
I still don't agree with that move, and I think that they might have done it a little too early if that's what they're doing.
Well, no, I think they did it right on time, Rico, because you need to get a new guy in there so that when the Big Ten Conference does scrap divisions in 2 years, you have a guy in place and you kind of have at least one recruiting class ready to go.
I don't know. It was weird. It was weird.
I
think Jim Leonard's their guy no matter what.
If you do that, if you were truly thinking that, then you do that at the end of the season. Because you've got Jim Leonard as an interim, and they still haven't named that he's going to be the head coach.
Which is odd.
So we
That's
still don't know.
odd to
So
me.
you're talking about a recruiting class. If they end up not hiring him, which would be very weird.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be weird.
Who's to say like all those guys that did come in, and they lost like 4 recruits in like a week.
Right.
So it's a strange situation for Wisconsin. But we're gonna go to a break. We're gonna come back, get a little shorter segment before we hop into the couple minutes of on the block before we
are we just gonna roll right over?
No, I think we're gonna do a
we'll have one segment of on the block.
Yeah, short,
we'll
really short
25
segment
minutes.
here, and then one segment of on the block. So
perfect.
We'll see what happens. But you guys are listening to the Happy Hour on 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The World Cup is back, and Lincoln has great places to watch all the great soccer action. Rosie's downtown at 10th and P and Captain Jack's at 12th and P have teamed up with American Outlaws for watch parties to cheer on the USA. Matches go all week long, but make sure to stop by on Black Friday for USA versus England. Rosie's and Captain Jack's will both be open at 8 a.m. for the 11 a.m. match, and stick around to watch the Nebraska-Iowa game right after. It's the World Cup at Rosie's downtown and Captain Jack's with the American Outlaws.
There's a lot of realtors in Lincoln, but don't get overwhelmed by all the names. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realtor Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate is your go-to option when buying or selling residential and commercial property. Ben's team offers unbeatable customer service and promises to make the buying and selling process as stress-free as possible. Call Ben today at 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate. No pressure, just professionalism.
Imagine your next staff meeting. Now imagine your next staff meeting with a side of ribs. Your next client presentation, or that same client presentation with brisket and baked beans. It's Better, right? Let Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul take care of all of your business catering needs. Feed the staff, cater your next event, whatever you need, Mary Ellen's can help. They can even host your events in their brand new event space located right next to the restaurant. Go see for yourself. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul at 29th and Pine Lake or online at maryellens.com. Let them fix you a plate.
If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, listen up. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. Plus, they're hiring service plumbers. If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips.
Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great?
Come on back and have a seat.
Good asks you what haircut you'd like.
I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today?
Great already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Hey, it's Nicklin Hames from Nebraska Volleyball. I hate wasting time in practice, and I want to help you stop wasting your time when you're looking for an electrician. High Electric has been serving the area for over 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They are experts in everything like remodeling, new additions, hot tub installation, and more. And they take jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at high-electric.com.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
You know what's going to happen. They're going to punt it. Wisconsin's going to go down and score.
It was all the sad part. This is all very predictable. The ending of the game shocked nobody. I'm watching the game at a bar saying, "This is like watching yourself die slowly." You know how this ends. You just see it happen in slow motion, but you know exactly how the story is going to end.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning.
I grew up hearing that women are bad with money, but like many of you, I spent years paying bills, managing checking accounts, and taking care of my family. So turns out women are pretty good with money after all. And now I'm taking control of my financial future by saving for retirement. It's never too late to start, and there's a great website to help you. Check out WeSaySaveIt.org and jumpstart your retirement savings on your budget and your timeline. That's WeSaySaveIt.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary. Brought to you by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Happy Hour here on 93.7 The Ticket. Again, happy Tuesday to everybody. 2 more sleeps. 3 more sleeps. 3 more sleeps until Nebraska and Iowa kick
Are you
off.
sure? Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday at 3.
3 more sleeps. And then Nebraska, Iowa kickoff. 3 more sleeps until Nebraska, Wisconsin. First serve. It's going to be a very busy Black Friday because you've got Nebraska, Iowa football, you've got Nebraska, Wisconsin volleyball, and oh, by the way, the World Cup is happening, and Team USA plays England.
USA.
A lot of crazy things happening in the world. Also, shout out to Argentina for losing.
I saw that. That line was plus 1,600 money line.
Sorry, Lionel Messi.
So Vegas doesn't know what's going on.
They don't know.
Vegas doesn't know when it comes to soccer. Even though the draw was favored yesterday for the United States, which still frustrates me. I don't want to get into all that. I digress. I can't stand that the favorite The favorite in a game, in a match, I guess I should say, the favorite is a tie. What is that? All right, let's talk about something. That's just unbelievable.
That's
to
just
me.
how it is.
I just
That's just how it is.
imagine
Nick?
if every NFL game the favorite was a tie.
Well, that's not how it works. Nick,
What?
can you tell us a little bit about the games you're calling tonight?
Okay. Here, yeah, no. You also forgot to put in Husker Hoops play their second round game against whoever they play.
Oh yeah.
The Oklahoma game
Also,
on
did you
Friday.
see Sam Hybe post today?
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Well, initially we thought she was going to be back in December, is what we were initially told.
It's close to December.
It's close to December. Maybe it's ahead of schedule. Hopefully, it's ahead of schedule. That's a big get. Big get for Nebraska women's basketball, who struggled. They've lost their last two, but they play tonight, right, against Tarleton.
Yes, the
When's
Tarleton Texans.
When's the Big Ten ACC Challenge? I'm looking forward to that.
I don't know. They play Virginia Tech, don't
yeah,
they?
A couple
That's
weeks.
right.
I don't know. Exactly.
They do.
Not a couple. I don't
We
know.
do a gentleman's wager on it. Chicken wings.
You still owe me chicken wings.
I own box chicken
You
wings
guys,
too.
you guys will owe me chicken wings when Ohio State beats Michigan.
I'm not in on that.
Me and Strick.
I'm
and
not
you
in
are
on that
gonna
chicken
owe
wing bet.
Strick and I chicken wings.
What is it? Double digits?
Yeah.
It's double digits.
So Michigan has to keep it within double digits.
Yeah.
Yes, they have to lose by less than double digits, or they just have to win. Which
I thought Strick's line was 11.
No,
it's double.
He
digits.
tried.
He
but
was trying. It's
we
just double digits.
I shook hands with Strick on
Double digits.
double digits,
And then he was
which
like
is
12.
10 or more. Yeah, then he's
11
like
and a half.
12.
11 and a half. All right. The chicken
So,
wing bet is finalized.
I wrote it on the board, and I wrote the date. So if we ever need to go back for evidence, we can.
Yeah.
So Dion on the stream says these guys are selling Nebraska short. Most schools in the top 10 have sucked for multiple years and just hired a great coach, and poof, they are winning. Why is Nebraska any different? First of all, I don't think we're selling Nebraska short.
We're just saying we're not the
calling it-
Alabama.
We're calling it what it is because you are coming off a stint with a coaching staff that was 16-31, and prior to that, you were 19-19. I mean, over the last 8 years, you have been sub 500.
So now I'm looking at the top 10. I just
like,
want to
what
look
are we
at this
like?
top 10.
What, is that selling it short?
UGA has not sucked for multiple years. They've had multiple good coaches. They haven't been, national championship level for multiple years, but
Georgia hasn't been bad in a while.
They have been solid. Ohio State, the worst season I can remember for Ohio State is 6-7.
Luke Fickell.
That is the worst season I can remember for Ohio
That's
State.
Luke Fickell.
And didn't he get canned?
Yeah, he did. He was interim coach. He was supposed to be interim for 5 days, and then Jim Tressel was like, "Okay, bye." So he was interim for the whole year.
That's right.
Michigan has not sucked for multiple years. They've had multiple good coaches. Sometimes they have some bad years.
Rich Rod. They had Rich Rod.
But they've never had 3 wins in a season.
I want to make this clear. Like, I'm on board with the
Rich
whole.
Rod was
You
a pretty
got to
good
get the
coach.
right fit, and you will be fine. I'm all on board with that, Dion. But to say that we're selling Nebraska short, you are a sub 500 program at best over the last 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming off of a coach that was 16-31, and then before that, coming off a coach that was 500. 500 that had a fraudulent 7-0 start to a season as well. So how are we selling it short?
So Dion keeps saying, Oklahoma had bad years, USC sucked. All of them have had bad years. Yes, none of them have had bad years that have sustained for as long as Nebraska's bad years have sustained.
You are one loss away from going 3-9 in back-to-back years. Call it what it is.
You haven't had a winning season in 5 years. 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. None of those schools that you're thinking of have ever been non-winning season for 5 straight years. None of them.
And even that, I think we're agreeing with Dion in the sense that Nebraska doesn't have to hire a bottom feeder
they
coach.
do not.
Nebraska will get a good hire. They're not going to get the
100%.
guy that Alabama gets. They're not going to get the guy that Michigan gets. They're not
They
going to get the
also-
guy that Georgia. Like,
Clemson-
that's not going to happen.
Clemson hired their interim coach who was a wide receiver coach in Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah.
That
That's exactly right.
wasn't a sexy hire.
And
Nope.
Clemson now is one
It's
of the that will be one of the hottest jobs if he ever leaves.
It is literally all about fit, guys. It's all about fit. And here's what's interesting with Mickey Joseph today. One quote that stuck out, and you guys know where I'm at. Like I'm not pro Mickey. I'm not pro Klein. I'm not anything. Like I want it to be over. Here's the deal. Something interesting that Mickey Joseph said today in the press conference was that you're dealing with Y generation. You're dealing with Y generation type of kids. And what he meant by that is, he goes, you ask them to run through that wall over there, they're going to go, why? He goes, you always have to have an answer for everything. And he said, you always have to have a justified reason for every single thing that you tell the kids to do. And that was something that really, like, we know how big of a relationship guy Mickey Joseph is, and that's part of the fit that Nebraska needs. Maybe not as head coach, but definitely as associate head coach, if not as head coach. So there's pieces of Mickey Joseph that Nebraska needs. It might not be from Mickey Joseph, whatever. I don't care. Whoever they decide to go to or go with, they need to figure out and make sure that the fit is right. They need to make sure the fit is right, even if it's not sexy.
Well, also, Nick, I don't know if you heard we were talking about before. Me and Rico were talking about this, and I think this is a big part about Mickey Joseph is that when you talk about selling points for a school, I think you hit it on the head. I think that facilities is a big one, fan support, NIL you can probably throw into that group too. But when you look at the schools like in Alabama, like a Clemson, like a Georgia, all these schools that we're naming, guess what their biggest selling point is? You're going to compete for a national championship and you're going to go to the NFL. Guess what? Lately, Nebraska doesn't have either.
Nope.
And those are the two biggest selling points that you can give a kid. Facilities are great. NIL is great. Fan support is great.
Everybody has facilities.
But and that's great. And they are selling points that Nebraska absolutely should be selling. But the number one thing that kids care about is winning and going to the league. And Nebraska can't do that. So having a Mickey Joseph, guess what? That's another selling point for you. It's just another one that you have in your bag.
It is what it is.
And I get called out on the text line saying Oklahoma had 5 straight non-winning seasons in the 90s. Yeah, well, Nebraska had 3 national championships in the 90s.
Oklahoma has playoff appearances.
So
here's what's funny.
Yeah,
guys.
that was a while ago.
Are we sticking around? Are we doing a little 3-person on the block?
Yeah, let's do it.
If you want to stick around, I'm good with that.
Dude, I got nothing to do. There's 42 minutes on the clock here.
Okay,
perfect.
So I already
got these
hit you out.
wonderful
We
gentlemen
got about
from
30
Norfolk
seconds.
sitting to my left. I got the wonderful gentleman from Norfolk sitting to my left. Listen to our segment.
Fantastic. So
we're just chilling up here on the northwest corner of the stadium.
Yeah, no, we got 20 seconds left in this one, so we'll send it out here, and then we'll hit up on the block, and hopefully everybody that's listening right now joins us on the Starter Heyman Jewelers live video stream and then text us, call us on the Lincoln Hotline, Starter Heyman text line. Just join us up next on the block coming up.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth 93.